What's good, fellow masters? FGO Adventures here with a quick PSA about the next welfare servant that will be available. And I'm talking about the free 4-star caster Shuten Douji from the Oniland event coming up after Guildfest. If you're a newer player that didn't participate in the original Oniland event last October, then this will be of particular importance to you. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up now, even though Guildfest Battle of New York will be our next event, is because there is a fairly steep requirement to participate in the Oniland event. And that requirement is to clear Lost Belt 2. That means finishing up the story arc of the 7 Singularities and then proceeding through the first 2 stories of the Part 2 story arc. Note that completing the Part 1.5 story arc, known as the Epic of Remnant, is not necessary and can be skipped and left for later. So while we are having a bit of a break before Guildfest, this is a good chance to get through as much of the story as possible before the Oniland Event Re-run. This may seem a little daunting, but it is worth it to grind in order to get the free 4-star caster Shuten Douji. Keep in mind this will be the last chance to obtain her since it is the rerun of the Oniland event. This version of Shuten is a single target buster caster, and since she is a welfare servant, getting her to MP5 is relatively easy. By virtue of being MP5, when compared to the relatively few other single target casters, Shuten's MP hits the hardest, more than even the SSR caster Ilya and Sanzang, unless you happen to have them at MP2 or higher, and this is of course outside of trait effects. So having her in your arsenal of servants will be really beneficial. Her skills are relatively simple, the first being a 1-turn NP seal on one enemy, plus reducing their critical attack chance for 3 turns, giving Shuten a bit of a stall and damage mitigation utility. Her second skill is like a mana burst, giving her a 1-turn increase in arts and buster performance, and also a 1-turn crit star absorption increase. And her third skill is her version of a charisma, with a party-wide attack increase for 3 turns. This also gives her an anti-demonic niche by giving her a damage boost against demonic enemies. Her single target buster NP has an ignore evasion effect that activates first. This can come in handy since her primary enemies will be against assassins, which tend to have the evade skill. The overcharge effect is not the most potent thing, being a poison effect on her target, but it has a long duration, so the cumulative damage can add up. Unfortunately, Shuten doesn't have any hard defense options, with the NP seal on her first skill being the closest thing. So this will need to be provided by supports, craft essences, and so forth. She also has a triple arts deck, and while she is unable to perform an NP Buster Brave chain, her overall NP gain is quite decent, with 4 hits on each of her arts cards. But all in all, she is a solid offensive caster, and one I still rely on when the situation calls for it. Shuten's MP is very potent, being an easy MP5. So with her being a welfare servant, and if you're able to, I recommend participating and completing the event to obtain her. My prediction is we will get the rerun of the Oniland event starting about the first week of October, second week at the latest. Remember, you don't need to complete any of the Epic of Remnant story chapters. Just complete the Part 1 story arc, the 7 Singularities, and then Lost Belt 1 and Lost Belt 2 of the Part 2 story arc. Last year, I started with roughly the same type of time frame before the Oniland event. I think I was at the Camelot Singularity, but still managed to clear up to Lost Belt 2 while skipping Epic of Remnant, and by the time the event started. A friend of mine didn't complete Lost Belt 2 until a week into the event, but he was still successful in completing Oniland and getting MP5 caster Shuten. So for those that have recently started playing FGO, take heart and try your best to grind through the story. If time really becomes an issue, you can skip the story scenes and come back to read them at a later time through the My Room menu. Not ideal, but it is an option. So for those who have yet to play Oniland, best of luck getting through the story to Lost Belt 2. I'll be making an event primer for it closer to when it's going to be released, so please stay tuned for that. If you found this helpful and enjoyed it, please leave a like as it really helps out the channel. And for more FGO content, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.